welcome into my queendom. Come one, come all. When it comes to
Hey everybody, it's the Devious Griot here, Uncle D once again, coming to you. It's been a minute since I've done some content. I apologize. A lot of times I don't know how to get things that are in my head out of my head and said in a way that I think people will understand. So I am mostly in my head thinking all the time. By the time I thought about it, now I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, so here I am. In the past few weeks, there have been, I've just been trying to deal with some of the things that have been happening in my life. But there were a couple of things that I came across on social media that gave me pause. So I said, let me take a minute to address them and try and hope we can all come to some better understanding of what it is that we are dealing with simply through understanding how life works in general. So I came across this video on TikTok. There was a young woman, and a lot of people had stitched this particular video that this young woman did. So when I came across it a number of times with a number of people's reactions. So the woman was talking about how she thought it was a bad thing, unfair, that women, mostly black women, women of color, I think she was addressing, only have a couple of options when it comes to relationships and having children. She said either you have to deal with a man who is not living up to what you want him to be for. You pick a reason. Abusive, not pulling his weight with work ad infinitum. Or they have to be single mothers. And her solution that she popped in at the end, she said, I'm about to go out here and find another single mother and date her because we know, we can help each other with our struggles. You have the solution to your own problem, is what I want to say to that young lady. You have the solution to your own problem. We have to disengage ourselves from a number of ideas that we have in society so that we can embrace new ideas that are going to be helpful for the community. One of those ideas, when I say date, what I am talking about is more of a friendship. I'm not talking about things that have to do with sexual attraction or anything like that. What I'm talking about is befriend, because befriend women who you can identify with and who can identify with you and your situation. I worked for 15 years in social service with a number of women who were on welfare and, had children ad infinitum. One of the things that the women faced across the board, it was like universally, it was so odd. It was not universal, let me not say that, because I'm trying to get myself out of making absolute statements or generalizations across the board. So bear with me on that if I do it. So predominantly, there were so many women who came into my office and expressed that they had no one that they felt safe leaving their child with or children with. There was no one in their life who they could entrust their children with while they went out to work, while they went out to earn a living, while they went out to seek employment even. There was no one that they had who they could leave their children with, no one who would take the responsibility of looking after their children so that they could take care of the other things that were going on in their life. So many women came to me with that issue. We called it barriers to work in our at our job. And I could not understand why there were so many women who lived in the same community, had the same problem, and did not think, let me find a friend. And we can, I'll watch the kids one day while she does what she has to do, and we'll take turns, and that way we can free each other up, and we'll have somebody to talk to who understands. At least that, cultivate those types of friendships. I know that it's easier said than done. I get that. But is it worth it? Yes, because you have to build a community for your child. Your child needs a village. All the information that your children are going to need to survive in this life cannot come from you in school. If you do that, you're going to have an ill-prepared child. You're going to have a child that is not going to be able to socialize in the society. They need other people's perspectives on life. It cannot just be your perspective. I know a lot of people, when they have kids, and this is an idea that I think is it needs work. It's the best way I can say it. Is that people, yeah, I'm going to raise my kids just like me, just like I was raised because I turned out okay. Listen, let your children find their way. Your children are in a world that you know nothing about. They are in spaces that you have never entered. They are practicing things that you do not understand. You do not people in my age group never had to practice an active shooter drill in our lives. These children know what to do if an active shooter enters a building. So we need to get rid of some of these ideas that we have. Unlearning is the most important part of learning. Because there are going to be ideas that you come across that are going to work now, and maybe in a couple of years they will work no more. Being able to let go of information and try new things is one of them. It's the cornerstone of education. What worked for you when you were 6 years old will not work for you at 36 years old. Not all the things anyway. The basics, going to the bathroom, eating, those things will work for you. The way that you socialize is going to be different. The way that your parents socialize, the way that your grandparents socialize is going to be different from the way that you socialize. I personally don't like to meet people through social media, through anything electronic. I prefer to meet people in person. I prefer to be in your space so that I can feel your energy. That's just my stuff. I like to feel you, not physically. I just like to feel you. I can feel your electromagnetic force. Once I enter a room and you are there, I can feel you. Everybody can. It's not something that all these people come up with these terms. Well, what is the term? You all know it. The people that feel everything. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody does that. If you pay attention, if you are a human being, that is one of your senses. You can feel when somebody is looking at you. Even if you're not looking at them, you could feel when somebody has entered a room, even if you're asleep oftentimes, depending on if you're a light sleeper. All of us have these abilities. They're not new. They're human abilities. They're not special. You just have to pay attention to them. So this morning, a friend of mine called, and this is the topic I want to kind of talk about. And hopefully I want to get people thinking about this idea in terms of everything that you encounter, because it is a part of everything that you encounter in your everyday life. A friend of mine called and we were having a conversation, and yesterday this video is probably going to be the one that I upload. I did one yesterday and I wasn't satisfied with it, so I didn't upload it. And when I spoke to my friend this morning, interestingly enough, the topic that we discussed on the phone was the topic that I had talked about in the video yesterday. So I think I wanted to add more points to what I was saying, and just to give people more things to think about when you see this, when you encounter life after you see this video. The topic I want to talk about is dispersion. And I really hope that if you see this video, first of all, please like the video. Please subscribe to my page. And if you have any comments, feel free to comment. What I'm saying is not perfect. And like I said, unlearning is one of the biggest cornerstones of learning. So if there's something that I need to unlearn, please feel free to add more information. I am open. So dispersion is what I wanted to talk about. For those of you who do not know dispersion, I did not get a book definition. I'm going to give you a visual. For those of you who grew up like me and know what Kool-Aid is, yeah. So if you get a gallon of water and you take a pack of Kool-Aid, you put the Kool-Aid in the water, and you add sugar to your taste, and you stir it, and you stir it, and you stir it. That's one of the best ideas I can give of dispersion, or at least the definition that I want to expound on. Once you have stirred the Kool-Aid and the sugar, they all become one. There is now no more part that you can take out that is just water. There is no more part that you can take out that is just Kool-Aid. There is no more part that you can take out that is just sugar. They are all together. They are intertwined, but through dispersion, dispersing the Kool-Aid into the water and the sugar into the water. That is something that happens in so many other instances and examples in our life. We don't think enough about it. From the conversations that I have with people, I can tell, at least in my community, we're not thinking enough about it. So just a few things that I would like to point out. Dispersion happens in just about anything that you can think of. Not just in physical phenotypes, not just in, manner, ideas, attitudes, behaviors. Once introduced into a situation, they permeate throughout the situation. You following me? Stay with me. All right. So that's how Christianity spread through. There's a whole bunch of other adjectives because it was barbaric, it was colonialism, it was, a whole bunch of other things. But the idea of dispersion, they took the ideas of Christianity and dispersed it throughout a lot of different regions and lands. The ideas that we have, parents have, whatever the parent thinks about politics, they're going to give it to the kids. The kids are going to talk to other people. The parents are going to talk to their friends. Friends talk to other friends. The kid talks to other friends. The friends of the friends talk to friends. Ideas disperse. When we have absolute ideas about things, let's think about this from male and female. Let's start there. An absolute idea of what a male is, an absolute idea of what a female is, and all the characteristics therein. What men should do. We're gonna jump on that bandwagon. What men should do, what women should do. We're gonna do female and woman, because those are not necessarily always the same thing, and that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, we're gonna do the characteristics therein, right? You take those two people who are necessary to make life, and they make life. They make a person. Let's make the person a male person. These two people get together and make a male person. Now, this male person is going to have characteristics of both. Even though the phenotype is male, they're going to have characteristics from the mother. They're going to have characteristics from the father. All of us learned this in elementary biology. What we don't think about enough is that mannerisms, the way people walk, affectation, the way people talk, diction, speech, all those things are also things that people pick up on, learn, and carry with them throughout their lives. From your parents, from the people around you. That's how accents are regional. All the people in that region speak that way because people pick it up. It's dispersed to the kids. I know there are other words to describe that, but this is just the principle that I'm trying to get people to think about more. So, dispersion. Think about the many generations that have happened on the earth and the amount of times that characteristics and ideas and thoughts and mannerisms and behaviors and understandings and everything have commingled and crossed over to different people. You now do not have an absolute idea of anything. There is no absolute idea of male. There is no absolute idea of female. Nor are there absolute ideas of the characteristics therein. There are no people who exist who should do things, all the things that people think a man should do. There are no people that exist who do all the things that people think a woman should do. It doesn't exist anymore. And we should understand that and embrace the change that is coming because we keep cultivating more and more of it. There are almost 9 billion people. When I was growing up, there were 5 billion people. We've almost doubled the amount of people who are on the planet. Not just phenotypes, not just the color of your skin, not just the color of your eyes, the shape of your ears, your nose, your mouth, your teeth. Not just those things are dispersed and carried out and passed down. But the idea is feminism, what people think is feminine mannerism, what people think is masculine mannerism, what people think are things that what people are naturally geared toward. There are females who are naturally geared toward things that people think are inherently male. There are women who like building things, which people think is an inherently male thing. There are women construction workers and sanitation workers, women who do labor, more labor than a lot of men, physical labor for work. What people think is a typically male thing to do. So the idea that we should hold on Or not just hold on, because it's not that we hold on to the idea. You can hold on to any idea you'd like to. The idea that you hold other people to those ideas is where we need a whole lot of work. A lot of us are holding people to ideas that have nothing to do with the other people. The fact that we claim agency over somebody else's actions is what's befuddling to me. We don't see it. We think that we're creating a society that we want to live in by holding people to a standard, but some of those standards don't have anything to do with you. We're not talking about people killing people. We're not talking about people robbing. We're not talking about people raping people. We're talking about how I feel and how I choose to express myself. That's what we are talking about. We're talking about things as ridiculous as clothing and makeup, which don't belong to a male or a female. It depends on which culture you're in, actually. I was there was a video that came down my feed in TikTok the other day where there's an African village where every year the men dress up really pretty, for lack of a better term, and put on makeup and everything trying to attract women. It depends on the culture that you're in. It depends on the society. It depends on where in the world you are. And we should not be holding people to these standards. People come from other countries and bring their ideas. Those ideas are then dispersed into our society as they themselves become a part of our society. People come here from other countries. They have children. They have children. Those children go to school. They join churches. They join other civic organizations. They are part of the community. And their ideas are dispersed into the community. So trying to keep somebody to an idea, what you think is what men should do or what women should do, or this is how a man dresses or this is how a woman dresses, those are such arbitrary things that we deserve to have a society where that is not an issue. We deserve to have a society where people are not judged by those things. There was a day that I was driving it not too long ago, and I saw a person on the street. The person was young, attractive. They had dreadlocks in their hair. They had on a plaid shirt, and it was open. They had a shirt up under it and jeans. And I could not tell from looking if this person was male or female. All I knew was what I saw, and it was a beautiful person. The person was gorgeous. And the thought occurred to me that because I'm sitting there wondering, ogling probably way too much. And I'm like, in order to know if that person is male or female, I would have to go and start a conversation with them. I would have to get to know them. I would have to engage with that person. Isn't that the ultimate thing that we want? Nobody wants to be judged solely by their physicality. Nobody wants to be judged solely by their outward expression. We also want people to love us for our ideas and the way we think and, our internal things, our attitudes, ideas, and behaviors. We want people to love those as well. So we need to let go. We need to let go and understand that there is no absolute idea that anybody should be beholden to. Right now, the focus should not be on other people. It should be on ourselves and making sure that our society is growing in a way that our children are going to be free enough to live well. And it's not headed in that direction right now. It's not headed in that direction right now. The fact that we are sidetracked by so many things is ridiculous. It's really, really ridiculous. I don't understand why we continue to participate in these systems. And for those of you, if you are new here, you are just seeing any of my content for the first time. I'm not married. I don't have children, but I also do not understand how we live in a society and allow the lies and perpetuations of things that we know are not going to happen. People lie to us and they also don't treat us with the dignity that we deserve. And we continue to get up and go to work every day and participate in the systems that keep us here. Other countries, many other countries, some, well-known countries, they don't tolerate that. And we have the power not to tolerate it, and we don't. Instead, we give our power away. We think that God is going to save us through religion. We'll get there in another show. I'm trying not to get into that too much, but we need to let go of those ideas. Those ideas are what got us here, and we need to be able to let them go and go, you know what, thank you, but we have better information now. It is not wrong to do that. It does not dishonor your ancestors to do that. It, in fact, honors your ancestors to go, you know what, thank you for that, but we have learned more. Thank you for being the stepping stone on which we needed to get us to this point. But the ideas that you had that worked for you then are not what are going to work in the society that we are creating. They are not going to work in the society. They're falling apart on their own. I just think, I oftentimes run into people in my age group or the age group before me, and they're befuddled by the way that younger people move. But we don't understand that these children have more choices than we have ever had. It's terrifying sometimes and can be paralytic to have that many choices ahead of you. For people who really understand what freedom is, okay? Freedom, actual freedom, when you understand that you can do anything, you better take a minute to find out what it is you would like to do. The world opens up and you know that there are a bunch of places that you've been already, you don't want to be again. Find out where you would like to be. That's worth taking the time out to do. It's worth taking the time out to find out where you deserve to be. Don't just stay in the same places because. Many of us stay in the same places because we're fearful of going into other spaces. People have told us and programmed us that this is where we belong, this is where we should be. These are the spaces that we are, allowed to go into. Your children need to be able to break that convention. Your children should walk across this planet as if they own it. It is their birthright. It is their inheritance. And they have no idea what their inheritance is. Mostly because their parents haven't unwrapped the gift. Listen, there are a lot of things that people claim they do to protect children in our society. They say, when they're making these laws about drag queens and they're making these laws about transgender children not being able to take the hormones to change and everything like that, when they're making all these laws about abortion and not being able to have it after a certain time or it being completely illegal, these are the things that we should be focusing on. But they are also the diversion and the thing that is going to keep people, it is the thing that many people use to keep us separate. Conversations surrounding gender are given way too much fire. They are given the arguments over pronouns. How about we find out who people are and call them what they desire to be called? It's not a hard thing. I get that it takes some change. Change takes an open mind. If you don't have an open mind, I'm sure you're going to have a problem with change. But please stop saying that the things that you do are for the children. When you take your children to church and you have the priests lie to them about creation, they tell stories that nobody can prove exist, and then you pay these people. These people rape your children. These people abuse your children in ways that you now understand but didn't then. Some of you had the same thing happen. And you say that not letting drag queens read to them during story hour is the problem. Your children are practicing active shooter drills because the education system doesn't keep children from bullying other children. You're not teaching your children to be respectful, to be loving, to be caring to other people, to be open to who somebody else is, because people are so different and can be different, and to celebrate the differences. We're not teaching our children that, but we would rather teach them how to avoid an active shooter, because the people who are coming back to shoot most often are people who were abused in the school system. But you won't teach your children kindness. You'll let them believe that it's okay to discriminate against people based on melanin. So we're here. I just don't understand how you say that it's a protection against anybody when you won't let a woman have an abortion if she was raped. You won't let a woman have an abortion if she was raped by her cousin. You won't let a woman have an abortion in some states if she was raped by her father, grandfather, uncle. A man attacked her on the street, beat her savagely. She is now pregnant, and she has to keep the baby, or at least have it anyway. These are ridiculous things that we have to deal with in society right now. They're ridiculous. They are absolutely ridiculous. They are as ridiculous as when people believed and killed people for being witches. This is that same level of thought. It has only transmogrified into a legal way to keep people scared, to keep people fearful, to keep people imprisoned. Because it is a prison. Think about it. It is a prison. Think about every story that... Now, I've never been to prison, and thank God, gratefully. Any prison movie will be real stereotypical. Any prison movie or series that you've seen, there's always separation. They keep the white people separate with propaganda. The black people are over here with their propaganda. The Latinos are over here with their propaganda. It's bananas. And we see the same thing out here in our society. Still, though, all these hundreds of years later, we still allow this because we participate in these systems. We go and vote. And people, this is the idea that frightens me the most, right? I ask people, or when I'm oftentimes in conversation with people, and I get to the point where I say, yeah, we participate in these systems, we still vote and things like that. And people, particularly people of color, I know they shrink back. Oh, well, we're supposed to vote. People died for the right to vote. People died for you to have the choice, right? But when they only give you 2, 3, 4, 5 candidates, and they put these in front of you as the people who can run, that's not really a choice. If I say, do you want me to smack you with this hand, or you want me to smack you with this hand? But we have a problem thinking outside the box in terms of politics. We think that we have to work within the government system as opposed to using as much energy as we possibly can to dismantle this particular government system and establish a new one. Nothing is going to happen to change for the better, so much so that your children are going to say thank you in the next generation until something like that happens. I know that that strikes fear in your hearts. Because you know that calls for revolution. You know that there has been no history of people who have gained liberty by asking for it in the history of history. Please, would you please free me from all the things you've done? Nobody gives up power voluntarily. No one. It has to be a fight, and we don't want to fight. That is the problem. That's the bottom line. We keep wanting to put all these flowery things on top of it. Well, we have to vote to get the people in, and we have to... No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. And people go, well, what are we going to do? We're going to not participate in their systems. This establishment, anything that you can find to get away from it, get away from it. Stop participating in their systems. Our education system, we participate in it. We send our children to school because we think it's the law. But you could probably teach most people could probably teach their children just as much as at home, if not more, because the stuff that they teach us in school, we may use 30% of it. I'm going to say, for me, I like math, like simple math. I'm not talking about trigonometry and all the rest of that. Just doing simple stuff in my head like that real quick. All that stuff is pertinent to doing transactions in this society. I get all that. Reading, writing, arithmetic, boom. All the rest of the stuff, why don't they teach farming? We should be able to sustain ourselves without going to the grocery store. We should learn which vegetables and plants are edible. How to make food from the earth. How to get food from the earth. We don't know how to do any of that. We think learning about the white people who oppressed us and learning lies. We send our children to school to learn lies, just like we send them to church to learn lies. At what point do you stop lying to your children? At what point do you stop allowing other people to lie to your children? See, here's the thing with religion. Just do some research. Find out the history of your particular religion. That's all I want you to do. It's not, even if you've read the Bible front to back, and many Christians haven't, they read certain passages. Muslims are more likely to have read the Quran because it's supposed to be read during the month of Ramadan. You're supposed to read 1/30 of the Quran every day. So you'll find more Muslims who have probably read the Quran than you'll find Christians who have read the entire Bible. And Muslims oftentimes read the Bible too. Excuse me. So we send our children to school to be lied to. We send our children to church to be lied to. Then they talk amongst themselves and learn new lies that their friends' parents have given them. And they exchange those lies and misinformations and things like that. We deserve a society where we are treated with respect. Your children deserve a society where they are treated with respect. I get that people don't want revolution. I get it. But the only thing that I can eke out that will change our situation in the way that we desire it is revolution. Whatever that looks like. I'm not saying take up arms. That's not what I'm saying. Whatever that looks like. Organized revolution. We simply cannot go on working within a system that we did not create by people who hate us and will say it loudly and do not want us to share in the things that they have. They believe that if we have the things that they have, that we are taking something from them. They do not believe that we can all have enough. They believe they should always have more. So until we are ready to sully ourselves, we're going to continue to inch and, make progress in millimeters. Because we don't have the heart. They have taken our heart and replaced it with Jesus and a bunch of other things. Pick a religion, pick a religion, pick a religion. You are the person who most knows what is right for you. There comes a point in your life where you understand, or we should teach people that it is your responsibility to find out as much information about the world as possible. We should not relegate people to isolated corners of communities and society doing rote activities day in and day out to earn enough to feed families that they don't even understand why they had. Most people have children just because that's the thing to do. They think they're supposed to grow up and have children. Nobody takes the time to find out many people don't anyway, not everybody obviously, but most people don't take the time to make a decision about it. They already think that it's something that they're supposed to do. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and she was like, we were having this type of conversation. I was like, well, most people, don't think much about having children. They just think that they're supposed to have children. Why do you need to have children? And of course, there was silence for a moment because people don't think about that idea. There's no reason you need to have children, except it's a very selfish thing to have children. I know y'all gonna hate me for this. It's a selfish thing to have children. It really is, because it's for you. You have children because you want somebody to love and to dress like you and to make in your image. You're playing God. You're playing God. But here's the thing. That child is its own God. And many of you don't understand that enough to teach your children to think that for themselves. Because that is where their power is going to lie. In knowing who they are. They are creators of their lives. They don't necessarily have to be creators of other lives. But that's not something you can teach if you don't know it. I know that's a lot to talk about. I know I said a whole bunch of stuff that people probably don't understand. I know that I said a bunch of stuff that people disagree with. I realize that I said a whole bunch of stuff that has made people mad. I also know that there are people who are probably looking like, well, didn't you or aren't you? And I was. And I don't practice any of that anymore. What I practice is being the best human being that I can possibly be. I don't find too many people, too many systems of thought in religion who just say that. It doesn't have to be the pomp and circumstance. It should be the best that you could be. It should not be in relation or regards to other people. You shouldn't be measuring yourself that way. None of us should, but that's how we're taught. It's always a race. It's always a chase. It's always a contest. It's always who is the best. And now, because we realize now that doing that type of damage to people is it can't continue. Then we start with the participation thing, but then it takes away from the value and nobody feels accomplished because we're not just teaching people to be the best that they can be. In disregard other people is what I'm saying. Not in relation to other people. I am curious to hear if there is anybody who has any commentary. So, yeah, I am going to try and do this. Usually, like, I'm gonna keep saying it, and if I'm gonna be more conscious to do content more consciously. Sometimes I just get caught so much in my head that it becomes a problem trying to get it out. If there's anything that I said that you want me to expound on, please let me know in the comments. If there's anything that you would like me to discuss further, please let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see what anyone has to say. So I thank you for coming to Uncle D. As you can see, I'm not in the house. I'm always more and more outside, but it's going to get cold, so I won't have that luxury for long. So I'm trying to get it in as much as possible. But yeah, think about dispersion more so and know that people aren't pure anything. There's a little bit of everything in everybody. Everybody has the ability or the potential to do a whole bunch of things. You just never know. You never know. You can't know what somebody is hiding. You can't know what someone's past is and what they've experienced. You can't know any of that. You can express yourself well and hope that, people are respectful of and honest when dealing with you. But the expectation that people should be one thing or another is always going to get you disappointed. Because there's no pure anything. Nothing. So y'all be safe. And I will see you back here as soon as I possibly can. I'm Uncle D, the Devious Griot. I'll holla.
I have been a single mom for all of 2 years, and I have to say, I hate it here. I don't hate being a mom. I don't hate having kids, but I hate the fact that I only had 2 options. Either stay in an unhealthy, dysfunctional relationship or do it all on my own. And see, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I did the cooking, the cleaning. I was a primary person in charge of taking care of the children. And here I thought that was a totally different category than being a working mom. As a working mom, I'm literally still doing all of the same stay-at-home mom shit, just on a different schedule, but now with the added mental stress load of how do I pay every bill by myself. And that's not even the part that frustrates me. The kicker is that this is culturally normal and even embraced, that if you're a single mom, you're just gonna struggle and that's it. Like, I could be on the brink of a mental breakdown, literally underwater, telling people like, I do not know how to make this better. And someone will ask me, what's wrong? Are you okay? No, I'm not. And the response is, well, you know, it's hard out here for everybody. And I get it. We all have our challenges. We're all going through our own struggles. But why is it culturally normal for this to be the only other option? Like, at this point, I'm about to start dating other moms to see who wants to co-mother together. Because the fact that we're all just isolated, but going through the same exact challenges at the same time, just feels ridiculous.